Hello and welcome to the Dime with me, Skye D. We got the NFL Week 2 special. You're going to love it. Stick around. Okay, so here we go. I was loving this NFL format for last week. It treated me well, and I had a lot of good feedback. So off we go. I'm going to continue with it because the NFL is something near and dear to my heart that I truly love. So let's start winners and losers. After week 2, we got the winners. You got your Falcons. They're looking good at 2-0. The Giants had a great win in Dallas. We'll talk about that. The Jets, man, they look tough at 2-0. Raiders saved their season. They're now 1-1. The Bills saved their season. They're 1-1 as well. Both of those teams could easily be 2-0. And a couple other 2-0 teams are looking hot. The Vikings, tough team, and the Niners, an equally tough team. And I'll tell you what, those two are knocking heads this week. And I love the San Francisco 49ers on the road. I love that. Before I found out Adrian Peterson was a little banged up, and based on the way that the Niners have thrown around Kurt Warner and actually injured Matt Hasselbeck last week, I think Brett Favre is in for a ferocious battle, and he might just get himself hurt. I mean, I don't like to forecast anything like that, of course, but it is a young, powerful, aggressive defense versus an old, fragile man, and you can draw your own conclusions, I suppose. Teams that did not do well, not come away week 2 looking good. The Cowboys, that big, embarrassing loss at that billion-dollar stadium. It doesn't even look that good. It's just a recreation of that junky stadium from the 70s. I don't get it. The Packers, tough loss at home to Cincy. The Titans, 0-2, man. I'm sorry to see that. I picked them over the Texans last week. I love Jeff Fisher and that team, and they are looking awful at 0-2 with a tough game this week. We'll see what happens there. Panthers 0-2. I predict they would lose, and they did, and they are in a very tough spot. So last week, week 10, I omitted the one truth, one lie in light of the NFL theme, and I got a couple people saying, where the hell is that at? One truth, one lie. So I'm going to go ahead and bring back one truth, one lie, and it involves Frank Gore of the San Francisco 49ers and Tom Brady, of course, of the New England Patriots. All right, with Frank Gore, this story begins in rural Florida back in the 80s. His grandmother was his guardian, and she took him to his first day of first grade. And, it didn't go too well his first couple of days, I guess, in the teacher's eyes. And after the first 2 days, the teacher took the grandma aside when she came to pick up little Frankie and said, Frank it wasn't meant for school, ma'am. You should take him out of school. Don't waste his time or our time, and teach him how to build fences, and maybe he could have eke out a remedial living in some type of life. And fortunately, the grandma was unwilling to accept that diagnosis, so she took him to another school where he ended up, getting the attention he needed, thriving, and running for 2 80-yard touchdowns last week, approximately. All right, the Tom Brady story goes back to when he was in high school in California. He was in a close-knit community. There was 4 high schools there. They were very competitive on the football teams with one another, and he was actually dating a daughter of a coach of one of his rival high schools. And sure enough, when they're going to play each other the week leading up to it, he sneaks into the old man's room, his girlfriend's father's room, and steals his playbook, photocopies it. Him and his buddies on the team look it over and study it, and he neatly puts it back in. And then they put the whooping on that team come that weekend. And the story came to light a couple years down the road, and he was in Michigan, but he was already off in his career, and nobody's going to make much of it, so they just laughed it off. All right, so there you go. One of those stories is true, and one is a complete fabrication of my own imagination. Make your selection now. So I'm watching that Patriots-Jets game last weekend, which, I was just hoping the Jets could keep close, and they ended up putting a stranglehold on the Patriots all game long. And it got me to thinking, how strong are these Patriots when they're not able to cheat and bend the rules, And it's come to light that they did cheat to gain those Super Bowl victories, basically. So, I don't know. Should the NFL toy with the idea of taking those away from them? You look into colleges and something like what happened to Chris Webber and things like that. If a college kid accidentally accepts dinner and some tennis shoes, it could come to light 5 years later, and they take away all their wins he was associated with. It's just ridiculous. So. Is there any type of accountability like that in the NFL? Should there be? Would it just get too messy? So anyways, I got to thinking about that, and I sat down and I wrote this.
A lot of people have called the Patriots a dynasty. Just a bunch of damn cheaters, if you ask me. I mean, they were cheating the whole time they were doing any good. some a-hole coach walking around in a damn hood. Brady always looked calm compared to the rest, but I guess you can be calm when you got all the answers to the test. There was that tuck rule that made the Raiders lose. Gee, Patriots or Raiders? I wonder who the refs will choose. But in recent years, the Patriots haven't done too much. They'd probably be good at two-hand touch, as they've lost a lot of their toughness and grit. I don't think this year's team is worth a shit. But of course, there's a chance they could do well. They're probably still cheating right now, you know? What the hell?
Alright, so I hope you enjoyed that. I picked 4 games last week in Dick's Picks, and I'm going to pick 4 here again in a minute here. 2 of them went south. The Texans came to Tennessee and just whooped the Titans. I mean, they beat them by a touchdown, but it was basically whooping compared to what was supposed to happen. Another one that went wrong for me, I had Kansas City beating the Raiders, and boy, was that game miserable and just awful and horrible to watch. And if you don't have the Sunday ticket, I think that was the only game in town Sunday morning. Yikes. So the Chiefs lost that one. One that I did have come through was the Falcons over the Panthers. They took care of business there. And then my upset pick, I don't know if you saw the show last week, but if you didn't, or if you did, let me refresh your memory on that.
And for a little bit of an upset pick, I like the Giants going into Dallas Sunday night. That's going to be a war, but the Giants still got it on offense and defense, and I think their defense is going to propel them to victory Sunday night. I think Romo throws a couple picks, and the Giants win a close one. So there you have it.
All right, so for Dick's Picks this week, I'm always looking for a good underdog. I think this week and just the NFL in general this season is just ripe with underdogs that are going to do great. There's always parity. One of 15 teams could win the Super Bowl this year, and I love it. All right, so here's Dick's Picks for this week.
Okay, I'm going to pick another 4 games this week. I was 2-2 starting off last week. Let's start with Tennessee Titans going into the New York Jets. Now, all conventional thinking here has the Jets winning this one, especially after they beat a tough New England team last week. Because things rarely make sense like that, I love Tennessee to beat the Jets somehow in a hostile New York. Tennessee, if they lose this game, they could forget about the playoffs, and they're already in a tough spot. But the next one, the Giants at Tampa Bay. Giants are obviously hot. They've had 2 great victories. I'm going with Tampa Bay for some reason. I think Eli Manning's going to be a little off his game in the heat down there, and he's going to have that tough environment to play in. Indianapolis at Arizona. The conventional wisdom here says Indianapolis, so I like Arizona. Arizona's actually a slight favorite in this game. In the short week for Indy, Indy's been lucky to win 2 games, those last 2 games, and I think their luck runs out this week, and the Cardinals get that one. Finally, New Orleans and Buffalo is my huge upset favorite. New Orleans is going into a tough place to play. Buffalo, it doesn't get as much credit as it should, so I think Buffalo makes it tough on them, and they take a close one. So there you go, Tennessee, Tampa Bay, Arizona, Buffalo. Book it.
Okay, so thanks a lot for joining me as always. The time has flown by. I'm loving this NFL format. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you for your feedback, everything. I'm loving it. We got a sponsor for tonight's show coming up here, great band, and I will see you in one short week. Have a good one.
The Inversions are a top-notch 4-man band out of Sacramento, California, and can be booked for performances at many types of venues. Visit myspace.com/theinversions for a taste of their flavor.